fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
Several shots were fired as President Kennedy's motorcade passed through downtown Dallas.
None of us will ever forget this day. Yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world.
Here's the say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Welcome to the Hagmann Daily Show, weekdays 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And now your hosts, Joe Hagmann and Jon Robberson.
Hello and welcome to this Thursday, May 24th, 2018 edition of the Hagmann Daily Show. We got a lot to get into today. John is going to be with us in just a few moments, and we have Chance from simplycleanfoods.net coming on to bring us a Memorial Day message, and he's going to be with us towards the end of the show. But a few things we're going to lead with. One, North Korea and President Trump will not be meeting. There has been a change of plans. President Trump has canceled the meeting with Kim Jong-un and North Korea over open hostility, what the president calls open hostility, sadly, based on the tremendous anger and open hostility displayed in your most recent statement. I feel it is inappropriate at this time to have long-planned meeting, Trump said in a letter to Kim Jong-un. So when will this happen? We also see that the North Korea has said that they are continuing to dismantle their nuclear sites and had just finished another one. North Korea claims to have demolished nuclear test site. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Also in the news, there are a few interesting pieces. One, I mean, with I don't know if they're that significant. One, a judge ruled that Twitter, the President Trump is not allowed to block people on Twitter. We're going to talk about this when John comes on. But first, I got to get into this. I don't like to do things like this, especially Nancy Pelosi. Gibberish, bizarre laughing, stares off during brain freeze. She had a lot of these brain freezes in a press conference that she had yesterday. Now, I'm not one to... I don't know, not yesterday, she had it a few days ago. I'm not one to make fun of people for stuff like this. Being on the radio and talking all the time, I constantly mess up, mispronounce words, not able to always articulate what it is I'm thinking in a verbal way, and it comes off sometimes as gibberish and whatnot. But Nancy Pelosi has been acting bizarre, and she has been stuttering and stammering and forgetting exactly what she's saying when she's saying. Let's listen to a quick clip of what the leader of the Democratic Party said the other day and how she seems not to have it together.
With plummeting prices, great economic uncertainty, and self-inflicted damage of the Trump tariffs. I say self for our country. But Republicans wrote a bill that abandons farmers, farming families. It weakens the farmers' safety net. It's 1.5 million veterans are involved in the nutrition program. But this is ideological about, I don't know, taking food out of the mouths of babies. That maybe is a priority for them. President Trump's months delayed speech on prescription drugs. When we won in 2006, one of our 606, we were fighting to expand the possibility. Tuesday was a great night for us. Well, I don't know. Are you confident in the White House?
All right, let's stop it there. That's pretty bad. She sounds almost disoriented at times, leading many to question: is she over the hill? Voter to Pelosi, isn't it time for most of these politicians to return to the private sector? There was an interview that she did with Chris Cuomo, and he asked her if, she was getting too old, if she should step aside and let a new wave of Democrats come in. Either way, very bizarre to see this, and this is the leadership of the Democratic Party. Also, Dianne Feinstein runs to the left, seeks new term at age 86. Why centrist? Dianne Feinstein is moving to the left, that she now opposes the death penalty. This is from the LA Times, and this is just ridiculous to even say she is centrist, but she is going to run again. And, this again is falls along the same lines as what we're talking about with Nancy Pelosi. Are these people of the right and sound mind enough to run the country? When is enough enough? Should there be age limits on the ability to serve in political office? It's not always an issue of age. Some people at 80 function at a much higher level than even some people at 70. So can you put age restrictions on things like the Congress or the Senate or the presidency? I don't know that that's constitutional. I guess it's all about, the frame of mind, the ability of one to be able to function at an efficient level. But when we see things like Nancy Pelosi, not being able to complete sentences and losing her place and stammering and stuttering, and Dianne Feinstein, 84 years old, seeking a new term. When is enough enough? And when do the selfish reasons to run for office go away, and putting the party ahead of that? We don't see that with these people. We don't see that ever in politics. So I guess we shouldn't expect it now. But I guess, again, term limits, age limits, it depends on the person. This again. And John, thanks for jumping in here. I was just played a clip of Nancy Pelosi. It's by the American Mirror.
She's such a doll.
But my question is, I said some people function, better at 85 than some people function at 70. Can you put age limits on the Congress? I mean, these people are lifelong corrupt politicians. And at 84, Feinstein wants to run again? She wants to die in office? Why don't these people retire?
Because they are intoxicated with power.
Yeah.
Now, Joe, you and I, being two relatively powerless people, of course, we have the power of Christ, but we're not. Joe and I are not heavy duty, big time rollers here, so we don't know that intoxication per se. But many people with whom I interacted in Hollywood, and for that matter in San Francisco too, who were powerful, they will tell you with zero compunction that power is absolutely far and gone more intoxicating and desirable than wealth.
Really? I can't. I don't know. I'd much rather have money and be comfortable and have the freedom to be able to do what I wanted to do than any kind of power. I don't know. It's just not appealing to me.
That's because we're broke.
Yeah, that has something to do with it too, I'm sure.
My goodness, Joe, we've got, first of all, Dianne Feinstein needs to be termed out. It is remarkable to me, and I'll pose a question back to you. Is Feinstein continually reelected because the people of California are such libtard sheeple bozos at this point that they just look at the ballot and they just check off whatever name has the D next to it? Like, could we have Mr. Snuffleupagus on the ballot, and as long as there's a big D next to his name, he gets reelected? That big hairy elephant thing from Sesame Street.
I'm sure the name recognition has a lot to do with it, but when you look at the state of California,
everybody recognizes Mr. Snuffleupagus, but go ahead.
When you look at the state of California, the failing infrastructure, the huge homeless crisis, and we could go on, the sanctuary cities and the high taxes and the just disproportionate amount of wealth that you see out there, and wealth discrepancies between the rich and the poor. They say it's higher than it has been in almost 500 years. And when you see this type of stuff happening and citizens fleeing in droves, looking for places that are not as expensive, do not tax as much, you have to make a change. And just look at San Francisco. I mean, look at their subway systems. Look at the crap all over the streets, needles and drug addicts all over the place. It's turning into what the liberals want, their liberal utopia, but it's not a utopia unless you're a criminal or drug addict. So it's time for a change, I'd say.
Indeed it is. And as the groundswell of public opinion rises, and I think a real question to consider here today, Joe, is what will win the day? Will the groundswell of public opinion? I just found a new YouTuber who I am just absolutely enamored with. Her name is Sydney Watson out of Melbourne, Australia. And I actually sent you a link to her channel, Joe, and she has been invited to join us. However, a new voice speaking about these absolutely draconian, these crazy self-defense laws in Australia. Frankly, Joe, they're as bad as England. And we'll touch on that in another show. But every day we're finding new voices. Ashton Birdie, who's joining us in 2 weeks on the Hagmann Report. This new young lady, Sydney Watson. And the list goes on and on and on. There is a groundswell of public opinion pushback against controlists and their utopian legalese, which inevitably leads to two things. It leads to failed nations, failed states, failed cities like San Francisco or Caracas, Venezuela, or Hanoi, Vietnam 30, 40 years ago, Havana, Cuba, where up until just a year or two ago, people were driving cars that were manufactured in like 1952. What we get from the utopian legalese of the left is either dilapidated, unlivable situations, and it gets really profound when it comes to a neighborhood near you. And the other thing we get is democide, death by government. And that's it. Boom, drop the mic, walk away. That's what you get. So back to my original question. What will win the day, Joe? Will the groundswell of public opinion become so enormous in the grassroots amplification of the distaste and the distrust that people are feeling toward their governments? Will that win the day, or will it be usurped by the tech tyrants who are 24/7, 365 consistently, insidiously squashing, silencing, shutting up freedom of speech? I don't care if it's Facebook, Google, Instagram, YouTube, even Amazon. Jeff Bezos is into this up to his Adam Schiff-like eyeballs. Question, which is it going to be? Is public opinion going to win the day because there's just so many of us, or will the tech tyrants win the day because they've got their finger on the button?
The tech tyrants will definitely win the day, John, and I don't say that lightly, but it's just, I mean, prophecy tells us this is what happens, and we know, the end, how it does end, and it has to do with that all-encompassing technology component with the Antichrist system, and that's just the reality of it. I don't know any other way to say it, but that is the tech tyrants win. And you have a great article up on Hagmann Report. It's got over 6,000 reads just from our site alone. I checked great. From yesterday and so far today. It's titled "Tech Tyrants Collude with Homeland Security. Media Influencers Are the Target." And it's a great piece detailing what the Department of Homeland Security is doing, what we've talked about, putting together a list of media influencers. And it goes through media influencers, at least in the alternative and new media, and details different areas and ways that they are being censored. And all this comes about as we see this judge. I want to tie this into what you wrote, John. President Trump cannot block people from his real Donald Trump account just because he doesn't like their political views. A Manhattan federal judge ruled on Wednesday saying it violates their First Amendment rights. We'll talk about that after we're done with this. But what did you take away from your article?
Well, first of all, I would be remiss, Joe, if I didn't just give my most sincere and heartfelt thank you to the participants in this article. Of course, Rochelle Richardson and Lynette Hardaway, better known as Diamond and Silk, who we had on the Hagmann Report back on Monday, April 30th, but also to the other new media luminaries, to the workers, to the people who are genuine water carriers, bringing the information fresh daily to their respective platforms. In the article, and thank you for mentioning it, Joe, again, it's at HagmannReport.com, Tech Tyrants Collude with Homeland Security. That's really nothing too new, I suppose, but media influencers are the target. That's the big takeaway here. read the article, check it out, listeners. There are direct quotes and really sharp insights from Doug Hagmann, Steve Quayle, Lisa Haven, lisahavennews.com, Tracy Beans, at Tracy Beans on Twitter, and many others. Craig Sawman Sawyer, former U.S. Marine sniper, retired U.S. Navy SEAL, the founder of Vets for Child Rescue. And Joe, as you well know, that organization is equally apolitical, because what that organization is about is defending the defenseless and getting scumbags like all those perpetrators from St. George, Utah last month off the street and into a concrete box where they belong, and they can't get their hands on your children. Yeah. And I mentioned Craig, Joe, with this profundity because even men like Craig Sawyer, Vets for Child Rescue, again, an apolitical organization. It's completely distinct from whatever Craig Sawyer's politics may be personally. Even an organization that has a mission statement that's crystal clear, which is essentially to take pedophiles out of the game, to get them away from defenseless kids. And even they are being crushed and silenced and added to this list. And Joe, if I may quickly, I just want to read what Bloomberg government reported to our listeners, and this will give everybody joining us today the option whether they want to spend a few valuable moments of their time in the article, and I would personally recommend that you do. This again from Bloomberg government. Quote, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security wants to monitor hundreds of thousands of news sources around the world and compile a database of journalists, editors, foreign correspondents, and bloggers to identify top, quote, media influencers, end quote. It's seeking a contract that can help it monitor traditional news sources as well as social media and identify any and all coverage related to the agency or a particular event, according to a request for information released April 3rd, 2018. The data to be collected includes a publication's sentiment as well as geographical spread, top posters, languages, momentum, and circulation. No value for the contract was disclosed. And I added to that, not only has the federal government given themselves permission to do another totally unlawful end run around our First Amendment and Fourth Amendment rights, but corporate America is lining up to flip the bird to the Constitution and profit from an historically terrible step toward tyrannical and authoritarian control. Now, Joe, there are 7 corporate entities that currently have bids into the Department of Homeland Security so that Kirstjen Nielsen, the current secretary at DHS, can determine how she will spend your tax dollars, listeners, to put people like Joe Hagmann and myself and any of you listening who hit us up on Twitter or have social media presence yourselves. You will be added to a list that the DHS is contracting out to big data corporate America with your tax dollars. Joe, remember, Kirstjen Nielsen, she does not earn a profit. The only money the DHS has to spend in their grossly ever-expanding budget is the money that is stolen from the ever-expanding tax obligation of every single person listening to our program today. We are on the highway to the USSR, and we're riding shotgun next to Hitler.
Well, very well said, John, and I urge everybody again to go to HagmannReport.com and read the article, Tech Tyrants Collude with Homeland Security Media Influencers Are the Target. It's a great piece, and it goes into much more detail than John just went into, and it goes through specific examples of a number of people that we deal with, and it's a great piece. Again, I want to mention this. President Trump is banned from blocking people on his Real Donald Trump Twitter account because he doesn't like their political views, according to a Manhattan judge, a Clinton appointee judge. On top of that, Judge Naomi Reese Buchwald wrote in a landmark
They're
ruling
always hyphenates. I'm sure she's a lovely lady, but go ahead, Joe.
that could change how public officials use Twitter. We reject the defendant's contentions that the First Amendment does not apply in the case and that President's personal First Amendment interests supersede those of the plaintiffs, the judge wrote. Anyway, this whole thing is bogus because the First Amendment absolutely protects free speech, but it does not protect or give you a right to be heard. And when you see what happens on these social media accounts, many people, John, as we were talking about before, are saying, well, now Twitter's going to have to unban and leave alone all the conservative speech. No, they're not.
Keep dreaming.
And if I were the president, I would just keep blocking people. I mean, the judge's ruling is moot, in my point, and it is going to get overturned on appeals. But just an interesting headline, I thought, that we talk about.
It is. And what do you want to bet dimes to donuts that this judge, the honorable judge in Manhattan, I'm going to bet you anything that this lovely hyphenate lady, Ms. whoever, looks like a combination of Nellie Orr and Janet Reno. I'm just going out on a limb here on this one, but there's my humble opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Joe, I'm a little irritable because this situation with targeting media influencers is on my desk every day. It's on your desk every day. Quick shout out to our regular listener, Steven, who absolutely hates it when I talk about what's coming up on the Hagmann Report tonight. But nonetheless, Joe, big one tonight, 7 to 7:30, of course, news, analysis, and commentary with Doug Hagmann and yourself. 7:30 to 8:30, Tracy Beans will join the program tonight to unpack the enormous amount of information that she shared with us yesterday. And what's critical about this is when Tracy tag teams with Joe, yourself, and your father, Doug Hagmann, it really creates, I think, a good linear story because this stuff is complicated and it's hard to follow. After Tracy Beans, Coach Dave Daubenmire, CoachDaveLive.com, will check in terrible news out of Ohio. And what it comes down to, Joe, is Ohio hospital refuses to help viable born babies. This is one of those topics that just makes my blood boil. I think the headline says it all, but what it boils down to is this. In Ohio, much the same as in California and in Illinois, and let's not forget that Senator Barack Obama, freshman senator from Illinois, when this was placed to a vote, when it was discovered that abortion attempts on the unborn, that some of the babies survived. They were dumped into a biological waste bucket and locked in a closet in a hospital in Chicago back in 2003. And yes, it might have been 2004. And Senator Barack Obama passed. He did a no vote when that came to the Senate floor. So that's the man that we put in the White House for 8 years. So Coach is going to come in. He's going to be coming in hot tonight on that one. And then I got a really unfortunate communique, Joe, from our friend Sean, the founder of SGT Report, sgtreport.com and libertymill.com. He received his second strike on his YouTube channel. As you know, Joe, Sean has been informing the Patriot community long before the inception of the Hagmann Report. Back in the day, Joe, when you and I may have had the red pill in our hand, but we hadn't swallowed it yet. And he has these strikes against him because much like the Hagmann Report, he has been standing bold as brass right on the front line, screaming into the wind about this media censorship issue. Joe, thanks again for mentioning my article. It is the 5th article that I've written in the past 10 weeks about this media censorship issue, starting with the first piece written about Dr. Jerome Corsi when his YouTube channel was taken down. Lastly, not everybody has the gravitas, the connections that Dr. Jerome Corsi does as the Washington, D.C. bureau chief for InfoWars. He was able to get his story on Drudge, and YouTube reinstated his account. But what happens, Joe, to all of the regular great patriots out there? Many of our listeners have YouTube accounts, and they're doing the best they can with the level of amplification that the Lord has blessed them with to get the word out. And they, unfortunately, can't get a story front and center on Drudge. Not to detract from Dr. Corsi, he has earned every bit of the contacts and privileges that he enjoys. But nonetheless, this is an attack on every single one of us. And I just hope, Joe, I sincerely hope that this does not become ambient noise, that the profound move toward censorship, toward, at the end of the day, Joe, what these social media platforms and what the mainstream media are doing in collusion with the government, who's using our money to build this machine, they are determining what information an individual will receive, and even worse than that, how the information is presented. And we know that much of what is presented on CNN, MSNBC, and all of the censored pages on Facebook and Twitter, Diamond and Silk, 101.2 million followers who were not receiving notifications and not receiving Diamond and Silk's news posts. This is enormous. And what happens at the end of the day, Joe, is it disables every one of our listeners checking in with us today. It disables them from making proper decisions around the kitchen table because the information that they were given was at best errant and at worst a straight up propaganda lie.
Well, John, it's a battle that we are going to be fighting, and unfortunately, this is why we are so blessed to have ourselves at Hagmann Report Global Star, who also hosts our video, because we have YouTube, but we also have the alternative that we run off Hagmann Report, which is the same video that better quality through Global Star, and we need to make sure that the people in the alternative media continue to utilize people like Global Star Radio Network and other platforms that are able to provide the same services as YouTube, so that their content is able to be put somewhere outside of the control of the social media tech tyrants. We're going to bring Chance on in just a second. I want to hit this headline while we bring him on. Did you see this, John? There was an article. Sean King, he's the head of Black Lives Matter. He wrote an article pushing a woman's lie that she was raped by a state trooper. The police department released the full 2 hours of the body cam footage, and there was no rape or sexual assault of any kind. And Sean King, the social activist and Intercept columnist, is being widely slammed for pushing a story that the state trooper raped a woman that has been discredited. Police body camera footage did not corroborate the story. The controversial King has backtracked and deleted damaging social media posts in which he said the trooper committed rape, but it's too late for many critics. Now, I just want to say this. This is the problem when you take somebody and you give them power in the media and they're inexperienced. Doing things like this, pushing a story based on, there are so many ways that Deshaun King could have tried to corroborate her story before just being swindled and playing along into the lie. He could have asked for the body camera footage. He could have interviewed the other side. He could have found out if she had a rape kit done. All these things are part of being an effective investigator, not flying off the handle and running with the first claim somebody comes to you and brings to you. He's trying to play himself as the victim here, and many people are not having it, even saying that they will and are offering free legal services to the state trooper because the damage was already done. I'm going to bring Chance on, John, but what do you think about this story? I don't know if you've had a chance to see it or not, but we've seen, this is the third one this week of somebody claiming a police officer did something and the body camera footage shows they are lying.
I have seen the story, and this is that ties in directly to hashtag women do it too. Hashtag women do it too. A young lady who was on one of the early seasons of The Bachelorette has gone public saying that she was slipped a roofie by a female masseuse and has vague recollections of sitting naked in a bathtub and being, quote, touched inappropriately, end quote. She goes on to say that she could not even lift her arms. Her allegations have been confirmed by another participant in The Bachelorette who also had a similar experience with the same person, the same pharmaceutical being used, but in a hot tub instead. So what's happening here, Joe, is the rape culture, I'm not even sure I like those two words together, but it's being exploited to, number one, to neutralize and villainize and criminalize men as a whole. And I think this Bachelorette story, it's on my Twitter feed, it's on Drudge, is particularly important. Again, hashtag women do it too, because what we see just today, just on the front of Drudge, Morgan Freeman has several allegations levied against him, and but John, we see it happening from females as well. And Joe, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention your dad's favorite publication, Rolling Stone, really got themselves in an enormous lawsuit that cost that rag a bunch of money. It almost cost Rolling Stone their publication in total when they erroneously reported the big rape story back in 2000, what was it, maybe 6, 7? So we need to, when you, in the court of public opinion, when you serve as judge, jury, and executioner like Sean King did, you need to be mindful that you are ruining somebody's reputation and potentially ruining their livelihood. And if proper investigation is not conducted, you could potentially put somebody in jail or under indictment for something that is a fallacy at the end of the day.
A pattern of alleged inappropriate
and sorry about
behavior by
that clip
legendary.
here. I was just opening that Morgan Freeman article, and I did read through this earlier, and they are talking about a pattern of inappropriate behavior, things from comments and inappropriate touching. It doesn't sound like any sexual assaults or real harassment. I mean, I shouldn't say real harassment. It sounds like some women were harassed. It doesn't sound like there was sexual assaults. Yes, this should be talked about, but we need to make the distinction when we're talking about this stuff and in this Me Too movement, because so many people are being thrown under the bus without given a fair shake or being able to tell their side of the story, not making any excuses. But we constantly see this rush to judgment as soon as any name is thrown out there by any accuser. So it's something that we need to follow through and pay attention to. We have Chance with us. He is a sponsor of our show through simplycleanfoods.net. You use promo code simplyclean. Chance, it's great to have you back on. I know we have Memorial Day coming up this weekend, a 3-day weekend for most and many people, and hopefully everybody takes advantage of it. It's beautiful weather where we are, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on. It's always an honor and a pleasure. And we are going to get into a Memorial Day special that we're going to be having. But first, I have a little humor for you guys, a little joke. In this time of war, famine, and economic uncertainty, right? Sometimes a little humor is the best medicine. So it goes like this. Good Christian joke. An atheist was seated next to a young girl on a plane who was happening to be reading a great book. The atheist looked at the girl and asked, "Would you like to chat? Flights go quicker with some friendly conversation." And the girl replied, "Well, what would you like to talk about?" He said, "Well, perhaps there's no God, heaven, or hell." The girl paused and she said, "Okay. But first, let me ask you a question. A horse, a cow, and a deer all eat grass. Yet deer poop pellets, cows make patties, horses produce clumps. Tell me, why is that?" The atheist ponders the question. Then he admits to the girl he is clueless. The girl then replied, "Then how do you really feel like you are qualified to talk to me about God, heaven, or hell when you don't know crap?"
how much you want to bet the fellow that wanted to talk about atheism was himself a hyphenate? Chance, welcome back to the show. We were just quipping before you joined us. What is going on with every libtard, Politico, DC insider, Hollywood puke, and in this case, Manhattan federal judge who informed the president of the United States he cannot block Twitter followers? They are always hyphenate last names. What's up with that?
I have no idea. I can tell you, like that little joke I just said, everyone thinks that, they have a clue, guys, but they don't. They absolutely don't. We have bigger problems right, than these political games and the rhetoric that we're getting out of the left, right? And these insane liberal views that we hear about every day. I mean, we have bigger problems than that. And so that's why I say a little humor goes a long way. But I can say this. I am so proud and honored. This is my favorite holiday of the entire year, Memorial Day. That we take also the time to reflect for the soldiers that have served with pride and honor, for the soldiers that have sacrificed their lives for our country, so that you and I and John can come on the air and talk about things that are important without any censorship, that we're able to exercise those rights. It's because of these guys who sacrificed their lives for us. And so if everyone listening would just take time this weekend to just pray for, our soldiers and their families, the guys that are out there today serving our country, active duty overseas or right here in the U.S., pray for their safety and security. And just a special thank you if you see a veteran or you see someone that has served their country, just say thank you, okay?
Absolutely. And, it is a day to remember not only the sacrifices of what the troops have done and the veterans themselves, but also to be thankful for the freedoms that we have in this country, the liberties that we have, and the system of government that has, done this country well for so long that's becoming corrupted. And spending time with your families. There's so many things that you can do, whether volunteering your time or, taking part in some community effort. There are so many opportunities in this time of year, Chance, to be able to reach out and give back if you are inclined to do that. Otherwise, spending time with your family and saying a prayer of thanks for all the people that serve to keep this freedoms that we have.
Chance, I'd like to add to that as well. When we look at the history of veterans who literally in one act of heroism changed the history of the United States as we live it today, when we look at people like Nathaniel Greene, who famously raided the fort at Ticonderoga and stole all the British cannons, which enabled us to win a bunch of battles at the formation of our country. I think of Colonel Joshua Chamberlain, who did the famous bayonet charge at Gettysburg and shifted that entire battle to Union forces. Sergeant Alvin York in World War I, Audie Murphy in World War II. And the list goes on and on. Before you joined the show, we were just giving some much earned props to our friend Craig Sawman Sawyer. Concludes his time in both the U.S. Marines and the U.S. Navy SEALs to form Vets for Child Rescue and working daily to get these pedophiles off the street. We have veterans who have done so much more. Oh, another one. I'd be remiss, Chance, if I didn't mention this quickly. Smedley Butler, United States Marine Corps General and Commandant, who earned 2 Medal of Honors, but most importantly, single-handedly thwarted an attempted coup during the first administration of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Chance, Joe, that man, General Smedley Butler, he wrote that famous book, War is a Racket. He single-handedly prevented the far-right cadre of would-be revolutionaries under Prescott Bush from overtaking the country. So we owe an enormous amount of gratitude to these people.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in agreement. So many folks on Memorial Day weekend, they get a 3-day weekend and they have the barbecue and they do spend some time with their families, and that's great. But at the same time, some of these amazing men that you just mentioned, our vets, even today, there are a group of great men out there, like you're saying, that are still, after their retirement from the military and or their time served, are still doing the work, right? They're still doing amazing work. And so many people ask, well, what can I do? I'm not a vet. I'm a nobody. That's not true. Guys, you can contact at a local level, your city council, at a state level, your state legislators, at a federal level, your congressmen and your senators. You can write to the president, make your voice heard, make a difference, take action. Don't sit by and let things happen, because then you have to explain why, to your children, well, why are all these things happening? Well, you didn't do anything to stop it. So that's my message for today, is just folks out there, please take action. just the smallest little things that we can do, like writing a letter to our congressman and making our voice heard, is so important.
Yeah, it really is, Chance, and thanks for reminding us all. And we really need to take the time, at least, if not on Memorial Day, sometime this year, this summer, to make our voices heard and to show our appreciation for the sacrifices those around us have made. Chance, let's do this while we have about 20 minutes left. You have some specials for Memorial Day, correct?
I do. So the Memorial Day special, you guys are the first to hear about it. It's going to be sent out on a email and text platform this evening. If you purchase the Alt Media Pack, and folks out there, this pack supports this show, the Hagmann Daily Show. If you purchase the Alt Media Pack, we will send you a free 72-hour survival pack. Folks, this is not a cheap pack. This is a really nice pack that's going to get you and your family by for the next 72 hours. It's got food, it's got water, it's got filtration, it's got a knife. It's so many things inside this pack. It's completely free of charge. The only catch is this expires Monday at midnight because I only have about 75 of these packs available. So Monday through midnight, if you purchase the Alt Media Pack on simplycleanfoods.net, you will receive a complete 72-hour survival pack, free of charge, free shipping, and again, that expires Monday, the 26th at midnight.
Chance, what is the promo code for that?
Simply Clean lets everyone know that that comes from the Hagmann Daily Show. And I said the 20th, it's actually the 28th. It expires May 28th. And the promo code, Simply Clean. And by using that promo code, that tells us that you're supporting the Hagmann Daily Show. And please, folks, I ask you from the bottom of my heart, this information that they're putting out here, they do a lot of work. They do a lot of research, to get ready for this show. And we want to keep these guys on the air, and the way to do that is to support them by purchasing from Simply Clean Foods. And I'm honored to be a part of this.
Amen. We share that honor with you, Chance. And just to be perfectly transparent, Chance, you took some heat a couple of years ago, and it was completely unfounded. It was rumor mongering at best. It was just straight up slander at worst. Your original company, American Survival Wholesale, that I've been blessed to be loosely affiliated with, and what I mean by that, listeners, is that Chance, his wife, his company, American Survival Wholesale, and myself have combined forces on a number of occasions to bless veterans, whether it be with a copy of Greg Jackson's book, 40 Things to Teach Your Children Before You Die. We did that back in 2014, or the big food bucket drive that we did in 2016, where we were able to get a month's worth of food to approximately 65 veterans, families in need. I've worked with these people for a long time, and Chance, you took a little heat because people didn't understand that part of the concept of American Survival Wholesale is in the name itself, wholesale. It was an effort, and a very well-founded one, to get preparation products, food, gear, etc., into people's hands at a lower price point, because it's better to have some things than have nothing. But I say all this to say this. You then, with the launch of Simply Clean Foods, simplycleanfoods.net, you really stepped up your game. When we had a chance to visit a little bit last month at the Occupy 2018 conference, I was really impressed to see Gerber and Kershaw and some other really top-notch quality. I mean, this is four-season wilderness type gear, Chance, that I would take with me to any point on the planet. So job well done there as well. The tools and the gear that simplycleanfoods.net and the people over at American Survival Wholesale are able to provide, it's top-notch.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I can tell you this. One thing that must be understood more than anything else is this is not our company. American Survival Wholesale is God's company, right? So through discernment, through prayer, and through guidance from the Lord himself, we have made major decisions over the past, since 2012, and we have been able to assist, and I don't want to take any credit for this. We've been able to assist so many of our veterans that go without through different programs. When I tell you this is God's company, what I mean by that is the Lord took control in 2012 and put this Bible drive on our heart. Our mission statement is to get Bibles into the hands of anyone that would like to have a Bible but cannot afford one, and to supply Bibles to missions all over the world to share the Word of God in places that do not have exposure to Bibles. And John, I know you know this very well because you witnessed that yourself. It's amazing how when you turn over your life, your heart, and your company to the Lord, how He can take that like a quarterback, right, and run it all the way through to the goal line, right? And that's what we found. It's because we're constantly in prayer, and it's because we try to run our company with the spirit that comes from working with brothers and sisters in Christ, that we have experienced the success we have. The wholesale side of American Survival Wholesale also means, guys, distributors. We currently have about 52 active distributors, but are looking for distributors not just here in the United States, but overseas as well. Our goal is that multiplier effect, right? To have distributors that are of like mind in every country of the world, not just helping prepare food and water and filtration and supplies like that, but also the spiritual preparedness as well, and that's the spiritual nourishment that can only come from the Word of God. So if you are looking for something to do with your life, you have a little extra time maybe on the weekend, and you have a calling to help other people prepare, please reach out to us at bugoutamerica@usa.com, bugoutamerica@usa.com. As a matter of fact, the new American Survival Wholesale website has just launched. I think right now they're adding a new distributor tab where you can log in and you can see all of the distributor specials and the case lots that will be available. You'll find that the site will be up and down for the next 72 hours while we migrate some of the information from our old site to our new site. So it's been a long time coming, but we're just so happy with the new site. It's WordPress, very user-friendly, and has a lot of great features.
Well, that's great, Chance, and there's nothing like a good website. Many things especially in the line of work that you're in, it's I'm sure primarily internet-based advertising and event-based advertising, but the importance of having a user-friendly, easy, accessible website, there's nothing comparable to that, and it is priceless, at least if you're dealing on the internet with business, and that's great to hear that you're going to be able to have that. So we look forward to that, and people take advantage of the services, the products. Sorry about that. The products, from the food to the survival and other equipment that Chance has, by going to simplycleanfoods.net and using promo code simplyclean. And as he said, the 72-hour family survival pack with a purchase of the alt media pack. Take advantage. If you're going to buy, you might as well do it now and take advantage of getting those extra offers. Chance, are you having or sponsoring any other events upcoming in the near future?
Yeah, we look for them in the next 7 days. We're launching a recipe contest. I'll send you guys the link on that. Basically, the recipe contest is for anyone that likes to put meals together. If you use our ingredients and you come up with a recipe that is outstanding, the best recipe will win a 30-day supply of fruits and veggies. 30-day supply. So that's
wow.
a pretty nice little prize there. And all you have to do is, put together a recipe, maybe using some green beans or maybe cauliflower, broccoli, corn. I mean, we've got a lot of vegetables. By the way, the pineapple is so good, guys. It's coming in next week. It's so sweet. Blueberries are coming in next week. Folks, blueberries are full of antioxidants. It's one of the healthiest fruits that you can consume. These are perfectly ripe, so tasty, you can eat them right out of the bag. So blueberries, pineapple will be next week. And then the recipe contest, please submit your recipes to simplycleanfoods@chef.net. Again, that email address is simplycleanfoods@chef.net.
Excellent.
Chance, that's a great idea. Now, to be clear, are these recipes to be, are the ingredients to be preparation food?
Only using our ingredients, right? So we're going to post the winning recipes on our website. So it has to use our ingredients. Now, you can, let's say that you want to make a stir fry, using some broccoli and some corn and cauliflower, green beans, or whatever you want to do. You can use some spices and seasonings of your own, right? But it's the recipe that counts. And we'll submit that on our website, and the winning recipe will win that 30-day supply of fruits and vegetables.
And only your ingredients, so you can't add like cheese or things like that. You have to use strictly ingredients from Simply Clean Foods.
The main ingredients, right?
Okay.
So if the vegetables, for example, you have to use our vegetables. If you want to add pasta, right, make maybe a pasta primavera, that's fine. But the main ingredients would be from Simply Clean Foods. Well,
Chance, I got to tell you, I was just, as you were saying that, I was thinking of some of the things I've tried to make with the American Survival Wholesale brand. And I'll tell you, one of the best things from that brand was the roast beef. It was really tasty, and you could do a lot of things with it. But I'm gonna have to look through your menu and see, just think about what I'd put together as far as a meal. I love doing that, throwing stuff together. When you're running low on groceries and you got some hamburger in the freezer maybe, and you got some mushroom soup in the cupboard, and you put something together that you think will taste good, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, but it's always fun trying.
No, we all know that. John, I know, loves to cook. John's put together some.
Joe's a good cook too. Joe's a very good cook.
Yeah, you can do a lot with this. Remember, guys, these vegetables, for example, you can use them like you would in any recipe, right? If you want to buy the GMO-free sweet corn, just add some water, heat it up, a little butter and salt. Boy, you're good to go, right? The green beans, maybe a little garlic. I don't want to give too many people too many tips here, but maybe a little garlic and a little pepper, with the green beans. So there's just so many things that you can do. Just understand that, this food doesn't have to be just set aside for emergencies. It is very difficult to go to a grocery store and buy GMO-free food, fresh vegetables, for example, and fresh fruits. Purchase them from like Whole Foods, bring them home, put them in your refrigerator, and then because they're organic and GMO-free, within 72 hours, they're rotting, right? So the idea here is for you not to ever have to throw away food again. Just use it like you would in any recipe. They're absolutely delicious because they were freeze-dried at the perfect moment of ripeness.
Now, Chance, you made a great point about throwing away food, and I know Joe and I both personally, we hate to throw away food. When we live in a world where, this is almost cliche, but it's cliche because it's true. When we live in a world where we don't even have to look as far as Caracas, Venezuela, we can look at many enclaves in the United States. People go to bed hungry. Throwing away food's really a travesty. Chance, we've got a few minutes left. Take 2 or 3 minutes if you would. Let's talk quickly about canned foods that people purchase at the store versus MREs, military meals ready to eat. I personally just ordered 2 cases of 2018 stamped MREs the other day. I think they're supposed to arrive today. Versus the products at simplycleanfoods.net. So when people look at their prep plan, I think most people immediately run out and they buy a bunch of canned food, and that's good for certain things. MREs, you know the old joke with it being Memorial Day coming up. That's 3 lies in one: meal ready to eat. And then we've got simplycleanfoods.net. Chance, how should people tackle a food preparation storage plan when we look at those 3 options?
Okay, well, let's talk about canned foods first, okay? So if you're strictly on a tight budget, and as Doug Hagmann says, you have more month than money, canned foods can be an alternative, right? So you can spend 75 cents or $1 on a can of chili or something like that. But please understand this. The shelf life on canned foods is usually between 1 and 3 years, right? After that point, whether it's edible or not is one thing, but you have to be very cautious to not go too much beyond that expiration date. What a lot of folks have done in the past is, they'll buy canned foods and think, okay, well, if something happens in the next 12 months, I'll be okay. And then they donate it to a food bank before the expiration point, right? So if you're on a strict budget and, you're having a problem just paying the rent every month, maybe that's a way to go. Let's talk about MREs for a minute, okay? MREs have been around for a long time. Understand, John, as you know, not all things are created equal. For an MRE to survive, right? And for an MRE to survive 130-degree heat in Afghanistan or Iraq, there's going to be a few chemicals in that food, what you would call preservatives, that are not necessarily healthy for the human body, right? Where we, I guess, excel, and I'm just going to be real with you, there are no preservatives in Simply Clean Foods. There is no type of toxic chemicals. As a matter of fact, there's only one ingredient, and that is the fruit or the vegetable itself, nothing else. Meats are to come, by the way. Meats, eggs, cheese, all that's to come. So there's only one ingredient, and that's what sets us apart. On top of that, the packaging that we chose, we passed up several different companies that produce long-term food storage Mylar, right? We chose this particular Mylar package because it has the most metal with poly front and poly back, meaning that it's not easily, you can't easily puncture it, meaning that it doesn't lose oxygen through the package over a 20 to 25 year period of time, right? As a matter of fact, you guys have both received some packages from us, and you'll notice that how tight those packages are, right? There's an oxygen absorber inside, and that removes the oxygen when it was sealed, and it will keep that seal for years and years to come. That's huge, because what kills food faster than anything else is heat and oxygen, right? So in order to have a premier product, you need to use the best ingredients and the best packaging possible. And as you know, John, we have been working on this since 2013, and it wasn't until 2017 that kind of technology kind of caught up with our goals and aspirations of making the best long-term storable food in the world.
Well, Chance, I want to thank you so much for being a sponsor of the show and for taking time out of your day to come on and talk with us, and we sure do appreciate it. And we hope you have a great Memorial Day, and we will talk with you again next week. So God bless, Chance, and you have a great weekend. You tell your wife to do the same, and we'll be back here tomorrow, and we will talk with you next week. Thank you, gentlemen. Happy Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day to you, too. We'll be back on Hagmann Report tonight, and we will see you back here tomorrow. So tune in 7 p.m. tonight. Otherwise, we'll be back here on The Daily Show for Friday tomorrow. No show on Monday, Memorial Day, here on The Daily Show or on Hagmann Report. So make sure you take note of that. We will be dark on Monday. Have a great day, everyone.
The Hagmann Daily Show is brought to you by the Hagmann Report. Tune in to the Hagmann Report weekdays, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information, go to HagmannReport.com. That's HagmannReport.com.